This is only about 1 minute and 40 seconds or so. The entire video was about 7 minutes of her blabbing about all kinds of stuff, but I thought this was the most relevant part that I want you to hear for yourself, okay? Anyway, drop your comments down below when you hear this. I would really like to hear what you got to say about this. And as always, this video wouldn't be complete if I didn't say, if you're on Medicare, call chapter there. Dozens and dozens of you have already connected with them so far this year, saving a boatload of money. Thousands of you, I mean multiple thousands, have saved collectively $2 million just in this community by calling them. So if you're on Medicare, and again, right here, right now in early 2026, give them a call, see what they can do for you. I've seen a ton of comments from people saying, can't see my doctor anymore, my prescriptions are very expensive, all the details like that. You probably have some flexibility. You may have some optionality. Call chapter. They're amazing. They've helped out a ton of you in this community, save a ton of money. After you talk to them, drop a comment down below on any video, use the word chapter, and I'll grab your comment and add it to my ongoing list here, which I've shown you, and more on that later. All right, anyway, here's Elizabeth Warren. Listen to this, and let me know your thoughts. I'll come back in just a minute.
Here's the truth. Social Security just hasn't kept up with rising costs, especially not for things like medical costs and home aids, things that seniors disproportionately spend their money on. And that's why, while Social Security benefits are updated every year to account for inflation, the adjustment just doesn't match the increased costs of living for most people who are on Social Security. Think of it this way. The adjustment happens after inflation has already done its damage. Over the last 15 years, Social Security benefits have lost 20% of their buying power. The Trump administration has announced that the cost of living increase for 2026 is about 2.8%. That's an average of just about $56 extra each month. Think about $56. That's not even enough to cover a week's worth of groceries for most people. That's hitting American seniors and people with disabilities especially hard. And here's why. Half of all American seniors rely on Social Security for half of their income, and it's the only source of income for 1 out of 4 people. Here's what I think. We need to expand Social Security. Make sure that every American who relies on Social Security can afford their basic needs. And I have a bill to do just that. My bill would bump up benefits by $200 a month right now to give seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities some.
I know there's Elizabeth Warren talking about the infamous $200 per month raise. Now, I do want to point out a couple of the key takeaways that she mentioned right there in that little video clip. Number one, she mentioned the 2.8% COLA. Obviously, we already know about that, but she also said something very interesting about it, which I've been saying for many, many years, which is the way in which the COLA is calculated is so incredibly delayed and bad that by the time it's actually applied to benefit checks, it's like long gone, right? Here's how they do the COLA. And again, you probably heard me say this before. I'll say it just super fast. They take the third quarter inflation, July, August, and September, of the current year inflation. They compare it over the same period from the previous year. The difference in inflation is the COLA for the following year. It makes no sense at all. It is so out of date. I've mentioned that many, many times over the years. They should really, really figure out a different way to calculate the COLA because that is so delayed, it's hurting beneficiaries in a massive, massive way. Now, she also went on to indicate that Social Security benefit checks have lost 20% of their purchasing power in the last 15 or so years. This is actually true. This is based on a study that was released by the Senior Citizens League back in 2025, so just last year, obviously. And I did talk about that many times here on the channel in separate videos and in live streams. But yes, that is totally true. Now, you might be wondering, what do you mean by depletion of purchasing power? $100 is only worth $80 today for a Social Security beneficiary. We've lost 20% of our purchasing power. In other words, $100 is basically only worth $80 in Social Security dollars today, if that makes sense, okay? That's what that comes down to. No wonder why beneficiaries are falling behind so rapidly. She also went on to say some other statistics that I think we should examine really quickly, which is, she mentioned that 50% of beneficiaries rely on their benefit check for 50% of their income. It's a lot of people that rely on a huge percentage of their benefit for their income. She also said that 40% of beneficiaries rely on their Social Security benefit check for all of their monthly income. And I would say that that's also very, very true, right? So the point being is that these benefits continue to fall behind. I mean, this is no shock whatsoever. Well, as you also heard there kind of at the end of the clip, she mentioned, I have a bill to raise benefits up by $200 per month for all beneficiaries. Notice she said Social Security, beneficiaries, seniors, people with disabilities, basically all beneficiaries. Fixed income benefits, VA beneficiaries are even on the list. And yes, SSI also included. I know that a lot of you wonder, hey, what about SSI, SSDI, Social Security, things like this. Okay, now here's the thing. I want to point this out because again, I'm going to get this question down below so many times, which is, when is it coming? When are we going to get it? Has it passed yet? It hasn't passed yet, but she's out here talking about it again. Now remember, the legislation that she's referring to, I would imagine, is the Emergency Social Security Inflation Relief Act, which she actually introduced twice in 2025, in probably, I think it was March or February, March of 2025, and then she did it again at the end of October 2025. And here she is, January 2026, coming out with this video right here, talking about that again and talking about how it could be applied right now to benefits. Well, hey, newsflash, everybody, get this. This $200 per month raise was supposed to be applied right now. Right now, seriously, right now, okay? That is the